Well, hello everyone. Grygg is here. Glad you're here joining me. I'm happy to be here to be answering some of your questions. Unfortunately, due to this stay-at-home order, the government has kicked me out of the wilderness and made me find a dwelling place. Thankfully, Drew unlocked the church for me. I have my tree here to make me feel at home. You probably think Drew and I are the same person, but as you can see, Drew doesn't have all these tattoos. So anyways, I'm excited to be here to answer some of your questions. I'll try to stop shaking the table because it looks like there's an earthquake going on. But some of you sent in some survival questions. Thankfully, you asked the right person. I am an expert, so all of this advice is free. You don't have to pay for it. It's just from my vast knowledge of wilderness experience. So let's just jump right in. If anyone has any questions that they haven't asked, you can ask them in the comments. I might be able to get to them before we end. So throw out your questions too if you haven't asked them yet. Feel free to comment too that this is actually working because I have no idea. I don't use technology. I don't even have a phone. Drew had to set all this up for me. But anyways, a very important question that someone asked, this is from a concerned citizen, an anonymous concerned citizen, is what might be a good substitute for toilet paper, it's a big question on all of our minds right now, but the good news for you is that I know all kinds of substitutes. I've never actually bought a roll of toilet paper in my life. I'm always all natural with that kind of thing. So there's lots of options. One actually was taught to me by Drew, my brother, when he was in college, living with a bunch. They used coffee filters. People say I live like an animal. That is just terrible. But anyways, if you're desperate, in the wilderness, leaves are always a good option. Something like this would work. I do have to say though, from experience, you want to check for leaves of 3 first. Check for leaves of 3. Poison ivy is not ideal as a toilet paper substitute. It's going to lead to all kinds of other issues. I don't want to get into it. But let's just say you'll have a lot to explain to the doctor if you use poison ivy by accident as toilet paper. My personal favorite is to find sort of a stiff bread, like a pita bread. It's good. It's good durability. And then, in fact, you can put it out in your yard for compost, fertilizer. You can feed it to the birds, so you can use it for more than just toilet paper. So that's what I like to go with. Find a nice pita bread, and it's great. Okay, another question someone asked was, how do you tell direction by the sun? How do you tell direction by the sun? Which is a good question. People say the sun rises in the east, it sets in the west. I don't mess with all that. Here's what I do. It's simple. If it's cold out, go towards the sun. It'll heat you up. If it's hot out, go away from the sun. You don't want to sweat. So just decide based on the weather, which direction you want to go. Here's a great question. How do you make a shelter? How do you make a shelter to sleep in the wilderness? I've always just liked to build a little lean-to, find a few logs, a few branches that have fallen. Once again, you want to make sure, from personal experience, the branch is not rotted out already. One time I built a wonderful lean-to and only woke up in the middle of the night to find termites trying to eat me, crawling in my ears. So make sure the wood is fairly fresh. Get some moss, some leaves, build a nice bed. It's always nice to have a hammock on hand, but in the wilderness, you never know. You just never know what you're going to have. So another question from another concerned citizen is, how do you tell if a snake is poisonous? How do you tell if a snake is poisonous? There's all kinds of advice based on different color, based on head shape, based on the eyes, if you can tell whether a snake is poisonous or not. But I've always found there's one foolproof method that I like to use, and that is simply let the snake bite you. The snake will bite you, in say 30 minutes to an hour. If the bitten area starts to swell, if your lips start to feel numb, if speech is slurred, if you're finding it hard to breathe, then it's a very, very good bet that that snake is poisonous, and you've solved that question. So that's simple. Let the snake bite you. If it's poisonous, you'll know soon enough. You might have other issues, but you've answered that question. It's important in the wilderness to have fire. And someone asked, what's the most efficient way to start a fire? There's all kinds of things. Obviously, the most efficient way would be to have a match or a lighter. And so duh, right? But sometimes you might not find those in the wilderness. So there's the bow method of rubbing the stick together, trying to start a spark. There's a flint, if you have one, that you can try to find two rocks that can create a spark. But once again, I think that the best way is by opening your Bible to 1 Kings chapter 18. 1 Kings chapter 18, Elijah prays to God, and fire comes and consumes the altar. There's no more efficient way to start a fire than Elijah shows us right there. The problem with that is sometimes, since we're not Elijah, we're not a prophet, it might not always work. But in terms of efficiency, it's the best way. So I'll just leave it at that. Another great question was, what is your favorite food, Bear? Your favorite food to cook over a campfire? Favorite food to cook over a campfire. So there's lots of great campfire foods. You got your s'mores, you got your beans, your hot dogs. One piece of advice not to do, which I've learned from experience, is don't try to cook ice cream over a campfire. That just didn't really turn out well for me. But really, if I had to pick anything to cook over a campfire, I would pick a nice cut of filet mignon. If you're asking, send it my way. I'd be happy to start up a fire and cook it over a flat top, a nice cut of filet mignon. You can't get better than that. So let's see. Let me look at the comments here. Someone asked if I have tattoos. So these tattoos, if you've seen Moana, they all tell a story. I won't get into all of them. Don't ask, but all of these relate to some kind of survival experience that I've had. Let's see what else is happening in the comments here. What do you do if your hat flies away during strong wind? Thankfully, my hat here actually has a tie that I can tie like so, and make it really secure even in the strongest of wind. I've been on the top of Mount Washington in New Hampshire. Strongest wind ever recorded on Earth was there. Look it up. This is actually true. This isn't made up. And I just simply tied my hat. It was snug as a bug. So let's see. Someone asked the question if I've ever accidentally started a forest fire. And I have a great track record with fire. I've only started a handful of forest fires. So, that's pretty good percentage. Colorado was one, I think California, Utah, actually has maybe two handfuls, but still, we're not all perfect, right? We're not all perfect. So I've only started, a few handfuls of forest fires, so I'm pretty good with fire. So how did you get the tattoos? Someone asked, Gabe asked in the comments, how did I get the tattoos? Well, a lot of these tattoos are actually, I found different kinds of berries in the wilderness, crushed them up, made some dye. Then I found a beaver. I killed the beaver, took its teeth, used the beaver teeth to ink myself with the tattoo. So they're all self-made and natural. So actually, I can still give blood because it's all berry dye. Someone has been very observant. They asked, how do I get a nice clean shave in the wilderness without a mirror? How do I get a nice clean shave without a mirror? And that's a great question. To be honest, the best way to shave in the wilderness is something that I found up in northern Michigan, up in Canada. What you do is you get some peanut butter or something and put it on your face, and then you get right up to the front of a wolverine's den, and the wolverine will want the peanut butter, and every time he tries to swipe or bite it, you sort of pull back, and he gets the hairs as he does that, and it makes this nice, clean, smooth shave that's better than any razor I've ever found. So give that a try. I think it would still work. Ladies, if you're looking to shave your legs in the wilderness, I think the same method would work. So give it a try, and send me your pictures if it doesn't work. Let's see. Someone said this looks weirdly like the Covenant Presbyterian conference room, and actually it is. It is. I was mandated by the government to leave the woods and find a shelter, and Drew unlocked the church for me. So, I'm living in this conference room for the time being. This tree is giving off all kinds of great oxygen, and so it's actually quite homey. Let's see. Someone asked about making a mask due to this coronavirus pandemic. How would you make a mask in the wilderness? I think the best way to have a mask is simply to go up to someone without them seeing, unsuspecting, come up from behind them and just rip off their mask and run away. That's what I would say first. Secondly, I've always found that hawk's feathers, the feathers of a red-tailed hawk, when knit together with prairie grass, make a really great mask. In fact, here's a mask that my wonderful nephew Clayton, he has this mask of the Flash here, which you can put like this, but actually, if you wear it like this, it can make a really great respirator mask. As you can see, these holes let the air in, but of course won't let in any bad viruses or anything. So lots of options for masks in the wilderness, and hopefully you'll be able to use one of those options. Let's see. Someone asked about my wedding ring. I have a wedding ring on here. Someone asked if my wife was okay with me living in the wilderness and always risking my life with such daring stunts. And it's a great question. To be honest, I'm not actually married, but I do wear a wedding ring. The reason for that is the life of a survivalist is so rugged. It's so glamorous. As I've said before, between Drew and myself, I got the good looks. And so honestly, at one point, there were so many ladies lining up to just want to be a part of my life that I started wearing this wedding ring just to sort of scare them off. I just didn't have time to emotionally invest in a relationship. So the wedding ring is a great way just to say, you know what, I'm already taken. I don't want to mess with this. So let's see. There's another question in the comments. Someone asked about a wild Platypus attack. What about an evil platypus covered in grape jelly? That's very specific, but actually that did happen to me once in the depths, in the bowels of Australia, in the outback there. The wild platypus had actually found a dropped jar of grape jelly by a hiker, which, by the way, you should always carry in and carry out. Never leave your trash in the wilderness. But this platypus had gotten jelly. And how did I survive the attack? Well, as it came at me, once again, I had already actually gotten my face ready with peanut butter to shave. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch earlier. And in fact, I took the peanut butter off and put it on a leaf. And the platypus really just wanted some peanut butter to combine with the jelly. He didn't really want to attack me. He just really wanted to look for some peanut butter. And so, actually, that platypus and I became really great friends. His name's Perry. And, we still keep in touch via carrier pigeon. As I said, I don't have a phone, a smartphone, or anything. So carrier pigeon is my go-to form of communication. So someone asked in the comments, what is my favorite type of rock? What is my favorite type of rock? That's a great question. I'm not really a hard rock kind of guy, more of an alt rock, maybe a light rock, maybe a U2, maybe, an Imagine Dragons, a One Direction. I don't get to listen to a lot of music, but if I had to pick a favorite type of rock, I think that's what I would go with. So let's see. We're running out of questions here. Let's see. Someone was asking about how what's the best way to take cover in the event of a thunderstorm or a tornado. What I really like to do, especially if there's lightning involved, I really like to find like the tallest flagpole in the area, and just put my sleeping bag right there, right at the bottom of the flagpole, because as we know, the lightning will strike the flagpole, and it will then just disseminate into the ground, and you'll be perfectly protected, especially if you're holding on to the flagpole, perfectly protected from any ill effects of that lightning. Let's see. Did you know Perry is a secret agent? Awkward. No, I didn't know that. Hopefully he hasn't shared all of my government secrets with the government. Anyways, let's see. What's my favorite thing to do when I'm bored? I'm rarely bored, but if I am, I really like to skip rocks in the river. I've gotten to three skips, which is pretty good, I think. I like to work on my bird calls. For instance, here's the bird call of a southern tipped yellow-bellied sparrow. So try that next time you're in southern Madagascar. Let's see, survival tips for Walmart. Everyone's after the toilet paper. I don't really, as I said, I've never really bought a roll of toilet paper. I've never been in a Walmart, but if I had to guess, I think the best way to survive would be to somehow work your way into the duct system, make your way up, and then over the toilet paper section before the store opens. As soon as the store opens, you rappel down with a grappling hook the toilet paper, preferably Angel Soft. Charmin is pretty good too, I think. You definitely want at least 2 or 3 ply. The 1 ply is not going to be good. As I said earlier, poison ivy is not good to wipe with toilet paper, but 1 ply is just barely above that. So get the toilet paper and you're good to go. All right, where can you get a hat like this? Well, this is a homemade hat. if you watched episode 1 of Bear Grygg, you know that I knitted this out of Jersey jaundice grass. So maybe at some point I'll do a tutorial on knitting hats from Jersey jaundice grass. It'll only be probably about 9.5 hours just straight of me knitting, but I'm sure it would be quite entertaining. Anyways, I think that's about all I have for you guys today. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for joining me. I hope this was informative. As I said earlier, a lot of what I say might not be like government certified. It might not be expert certified advice. What's the disclaimer? Maybe do not attempt at home, but these have all worked for me in my experience. And so, I do think they're pretty foolproof. I'm still here breathing. It's just, what can I say? I just know what I'm doing. I want you guys to be on the lookout, actually, now that I'm in quarantine here in the church by myself. I think I'll be sharing a video at some point soon, maybe in episode 4, which, by the way, is the best Star Wars movie, of course. So hopefully it's the best Bear Grygg episode. Episode 4 of sort of how to keep yourself occupied, how to keep yourself entertained in quarantine. And I'm hoping to get my my no good, dastardly brother Drew up here for maybe a game of dodgeball. So hopefully we'll have that that video out for you soon. I see a comment here that episode 3 is the best. I'm not even going to say anything to that. It is actually 100% not even an opinion that episode 3 is the worst of all the movies. Anyways, thanks for joining me, guys. I hope that hope you guys are doing well. Maybe we'll do another Q&A with Bear. Maybe you guys can just ask me some of my life questions, some of my biographical information in the future. But hang in there. We're gonna all be Bear strong together. We can do this. And signing off, Bear Grygg. How do you turn this thing off? Hey, where's Drew when I need him? How do you turn this? Does this thing work? Is it off? Hello?